Giovanni by Lynne Stone. I believe everyone has an if-only moment. Mine was painting my 16-year-old toenails bright red. I knew this would be thought of as rebellious, but I let my best friend Betty talk me into it. I regretted it as soon as the varnish was dry. My father had a very Victorian attitude to life and naturally spotted them immediately. I was not allowed out of the house for 2 weeks. He was afraid I would turn out like my mother, who had run off with a sailor when I was little. He always referred to her as the dockyard dolly. It was years later that I learned what that nickname really meant. I digress. If I'd been allowed out during this 2-week curfew, I fantasised that if I had met Giovanni as arranged at the pier, he would have proposed. My life would have been perfect. This private thought stayed with me through all the bad times in my life. I sat in the house crying and imagining him sitting on our bench, waiting for me night after night, head in hands, with a sparkling engagement ring in his pocket. I was so in love with him. From the moment he walked into the dance hall, I was smitten. Sex on legs, jet black hair, dangerous dark eyes. When my imprisonment was over, Betty told me with some delight in her voice that Giovanni had gone back to Italy and he hadn't asked after me. I never heard from him again. I got on with my life because I had no choice. Married an abusive man just like my father. He was a lazy sod and never did a day's work in his life. Dougie just moved in with Dad and me, and I suppose I should be grateful that I had a father for my son and a roof over my head. At least I had memories of Giovanni to fall back on when life was tough. I spent many an hour imagining how it might have been. The only good thing Dad and Dougie did for me was to die young. My son went to Australia as soon as he was old enough to get away. I've been alone for a long time. Imagine my surprise when almost 50 years to the red nail polish day, a date etched forever in my memory, I had a letter with an Italian stamp. It was addressed to me in my maiden name, and as I still live in the house where I was born, the letter found me easily. Mia Stella, it began. Forgive me for writing to you after so many years. I think of you constantly and what might have been. I'm coming to Portsmouth soon and would very much like to meet up and apologise for what happened all those years ago. He went on to tell me a little about his life and said he would meet me at 2:30 on the 9th of June on our bench facing South Parade Pier, and he would understand if I didn't turn up. The letter brought back so many memories. He always called me Mia Stella, which I found strange as my name is Mary. When I retired, I went to classes to learn Italian. That's when I realised it meant my star. I want to travel. I've never had a holiday or even been to London. Italy is on the top of my list. It did cross my mind that it should be me apologising, not him, but I dismissed the thought and spent the next few days unable to settle to anything. At night, unable to sleep, remembering his kisses and his hands on my young body. I knew it was foolish. Surely this won't work. Too much time has passed. Why am I sitting on the bench in the wind and rain looking out to sea? I'm early, far too early. My hair, carefully blow-dried this morning, is windswept. I feel ridiculous. What if this is a joke of some kind? The pier is closed for renovation and looks sad and neglected, like me. I want memories of happier times to warm me. But right now, they're not within my grasp. He is late, and I'm regretting making an effort to be here. The seafront is almost deserted. Just a man walking slowly towards me, his silver hair blowing in the wind. I take no notice of him and continue to look anxiously down the prom for my Giovanni. The man stopped in front of me. As I looked into his eyes, he said, Mia Stella. He took my shaking hand and kissed it. The years slipped away, and he sat down beside me, still clutching my hand. Can you ever forgive me for not meeting you that night? I must have looked blankly at him, because he went on. I had to go back to Italy. My father was dying. I gave my address to Betty to pass on to you. I guess as you didn't write, you were upset with me. My heart was beating so fast, all I could do was nod. Betty. All these years I'd blamed the red nail polish for my broken heart, never thinking that she'd deliberately withheld a message for me. I looked from Giovanni to the pier and realised that we may not look the same as we did 50 years ago, but underneath we are the same. The pier will be restored and have a new life. I believe we will too.